Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. And as always, we are brought to you by our great friends over there at topsport.com.au. Now it's Monday morning. Monday morning is BK Mondays. BK, my brother. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, my man. How you living?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You know what? I'm just going to turn every day, any day that ends in a Y, I'm turning it into a BK day.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
How'd you go on the weekend, man? NBA's back. We've had some games all weekend. You actually had something to watch this weekend.
Yeah, about time. And a few pretty good games over the weekend. So we've got plenty to dive into today.
Yeah, we certainly do, BK. But I do want to start off with LeBron James. Had some pretty interesting comments over the weekend. Actually, they kind of started from All-Star Weekend because he was asked in an interview with The Athletic, about possibly, I can't remember if he was asked or if he just brought it up on his own, but he was definitely asked about going back to Cleveland. He said, look, the door isn't closed on returning to the Cavaliers. And he also mentioned how he wants to play with his son. And he said, whoever drafts my son is basically going to get me as well because he wants to play 1 year with little Bronny when Bronny makes the league. Now, he kind of walked those comments back yesterday Friday night, so Saturday. He had, the quote was from LeBron. He said, I see myself being with the purple and gold as long as I can play, but I also have a goal that if it's possible, I don't even know if it's possible, and if I can play with my son, I would love to do that. And he also added, is that something that any man would want one day in life? That's the coolest thing that could possibly happen, but that doesn't mean I don't want to be with this franchise. Now, he said all that in response to people sort of questioning his loyalty to the Los Angeles Lakers, whether he's going to be around for the long term. BK, what did you make of all this?
Hey, LeBron knows what he's doing. LeBron knows how to make the media work in his favor. And in terms of, I think maybe more so, just kind of reminding the Lakers, like, hey, I'm not here forever. Like we gotta get busy this season, next season. Like the championship window is still very much alive for the Lakers. So a little bit of gentle pressure on the front office there. But I think the thing I took away more so from that was in terms of not caring about picks and that kind of thing, and wanting the Lakers to really kind of invest in trying to win a championship this season.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to win the championship this season. Like, let's be brutally honest, right? But you also mentioned that sort of championship window into next season, right? And I'm looking at the Lakers roster. Do they have a championship window next season? Like, I know, and I agree with you. I do think that LeBron's just putting pressure on the front office to actually do something. When you look at their roster, I mean, Westbrook's got a $47 million player option for next year. He's not turning that thing down. Between LeBron, Westbrook, and Anthony Davis's contract, I mean, it's going to be the same situation as this year. You've got to get a whole bunch of minimum guys to fit around those guys. And is there a championship window, BK? Like, do you honestly believe they could contend next year? What kind of move could they possibly make unless they get rid of one of those three guys and they're not getting rid of LeBron?
Yeah, it's a small window, and that's the issue with the Lakers. They don't have a ton of movable assets. Obviously the Taylor Horton Tucker piece if you want to go back to trying to get Kyle Lowry, they didn't want to give him up. So there's been mistakes that the Lakers have made. Whether it's not paying for Alex Caruso, things like that. So in terms of what they have on their roster, the Westbrook one is the big one. That's the $47 million piece that you can try and move and get something else in return and free up some cap space, because they are paying a lot of money for three guys who haven't really performed at that level this season. And look, like you said, the championship window this season is not looking great. It's what they do in the summer in terms of trying to retool this roster and really try and make the best of what remaining years LeBron has kind of at this prime, because he is 37. It's year 19. He's only getting older from here. So a 2027 draft pick, of course, LeBron doesn't care about that. He's not going to be here in 4 years. Like, get that thing out of here. Let's get moving now. And he's earned that, not only throughout his career, but with the Lakers, the Lakers were singing a very different tune a couple of years ago, when they were lifting the titles, we're all in, we're trying to win. The one eye on the future stuff, that's for the organization. LeBron and the guys on the floor right now, that's not their concern. They're trying to win now.
BK, what's your thoughts on the comments that he made about Bronny, though? Because it's kind of been like, I guess, an open secret in a way that, he does want to play with his son. Like, I've been hearing these whispers for years, even when I was still back in the US. And I always said the same thing. I was like, nah, this guy wants to be the first father and son in the NBA to play together. I think he meant what he said. And like you said, LeBron's a very smart guy. He's very intentional with his words too. I think he meant what he said. And it just kind of felt like he backtracked that and was just, I guess, paying lip service in a way, to say that to the media, because you start getting accused of tampering and, all that sort of stuff afterwards. Do you honestly think that, do you honestly believe that he wants to play with his son? Because I do.
Oh, absolutely. He's been very clear about that as a goal for something down the track. But now it's starting to become a bit more real because, it's only a couple of years away that we could potentially see, Bronny in the league. So I honestly think that would be cool. That would be a cool way to round out a career for LeBron James to take the floor with his son. Whatever team that's on, we'll have to wait and see. But it's not a bad package deal if you're looking to to take in LeBron and Bronny.
Listen, I'll take 40-year-old LeBron over like 99% of the other
Easy.
players. Like, yes, that is like, even if you only get him for a season, like I would take that in a heartbeat. And he also clarified what he meant about going home back to Cleveland. He said, and again, this kind of felt like he was just sort of paying lip service. He said what he meant was that he'd like to go back and sign as a Cavalier for a day so he can retire as a Cleveland Cavalier.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Which for me, it's like, what does that really mean anyway? Like, if you don't go back and play for them again, you don't really retire as a Cavalier in my eyes. If the last team that you played for is the last team people are going to remember you playing for. So I don't know.
It's ceremonial. It's the, we saw Luol Deng do that a couple of years ago. Guys are starting to do this.
Yeah, look, I get it. I actually do think he might go back and play because he's looking at that Cavaliers squad, which is better than the Lakers squad right now. And again, look, even if they get 40-year-old LeBron and get little Bronny for 1 year too, hey, that could be a championship team with the Cleveland Cavaliers again. All right, BK, moving on. All right, let me just stretch a little bit while we talk about this one here. We can talk a little bit about your Philadelphia 76ers, who absolutely smacked my New York Knicks this morning. And like I said, I'm refusing to watch New York Knicks games for the rest of the season. But we've gotten our first glimpse of the James Harden and Joel Embiid combination. We've had 2 games now to see these guys in action, and quite honestly, it's been fantastic basketball from both of these guys. James Harden had quite the triple-double this morning as well, BK. You got to be excited as a 76ers fan, don't you?
Hey, we're bing bong. We're back.
Listen, man, don't take our bing bong. It's all we've got for this season.
That's all you got. But you're 100% right. The on-court combination between Embiid and Harden, it just looks like the perfect marriage. And Embiid even said it after their first game against the Timberwolves. He's never been that open in his life. The pick-and-roll game between these two is so simple, and Harden is such an effective creator from the perimeter. Embiid probably the best post player in the league. So it's pick your poison with these guys. Which guy are you going to send help over to? Because either way, there's going to be buckets coming your direction. So I think the 76ers will be very, very happy with how things have started out because the signs look very, very promising. And also the fact that they were able to keep Tyrese Maxey, who looks great playing alongside James Harden as well.
You had to get that Tyrese Maxey comment in there. You're the president of the Tyrese Maxey Stan Club for sure, BK. But I agree with you. Look, I think the Sixers, they're looking dangerous, right? Obviously, it's a very small sample size, 2 games. But James Harden playing alongside Joel Embiid was always going to be a better fit than obviously Ben Simmons, who is the player that he's going to be compared to in these situations. Moving forward, though, I kind of like, don't get me wrong, I think they're going to be dangerous. I don't think they've got the squad depth to make a super deep playoff run. What do you reckon?
I agree to an extent, but I also don't know how much that matters because you have 2 guys that can shoot free throws and a ton of free throws. They can slow the game down. We know how playoff basketball kind of gets. I think Embiid, I saw a stat from StatMuse this morning. He's averaging 0.35 free throws per minute, which is the most by a player in a season in NBA history. Jeez. Now you add James Harden into that fold. Your two best players, you can slow the game down, go to the line. That is the perfect recipe for playoff basketball. And I think the rotation they have, they can go sort of 6, 7, 8 deep. I think that's enough because that's ultimately what you're going to be running with in the postseason regardless.
Yeah, that's true. Coaches do like to shorten those rotations once the playoffs come around. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a drop-off for the Sixers after probably the sixth man on the squad. I don't know. Like, I've been wrong plenty of times before, BK, and I'm sure I'm going to be wrong again. I'm not convinced on the 76ers making a deep playoff run. I'm sorry.
You don't like maybe those Georges Niang minutes? Come on.
Look, maybe I'm just bitter because of the way that they won today, and my Knicks suck. So I don't know. We'll see how that one plays out. Now, look, the guy that James Harden was traded for, Ben Simmons, he's over in Brooklyn at the moment. He hasn't played, BK. We don't know when he's going to play because head coach Steve Nash has said that Simmons has yet to take part in high-intensity workouts. He's been doing skill work instead, physio, individual work. Shams Charania tweeted this out, that there's no timetable for the three-time All-Star return to play. Doesn't look like he's going to be playing that March 10 return trip to Philadelphia. I honestly didn't think he was going to play that. I kind of feel like he's trying to avoid that at all costs for this season at least, and maybe through to about 2027. But is there cause for concern here, BK?
Yes and no. I mean, Simmons kind of entered the season, or he was coming off having some back issues. I think it was more just kind of soreness and that kind of thing. And when you consider that he hasn't played in so long and he's trying to ramp himself back up to NBA game shape, it's not that surprising that it has kind of flared back up. The good news is, as you said, Steve Nash said, it's not really a long-term thing, but they have their eyes on the postseason. That's what they're about. They need to use this sort of stretch to actually make sure their seeding's actually okay. But I think from their lens, if they're good to go by the postseason, I don't think they're really too concerned what seed they are, and that's of course depending on the availability of Kyrie Irving. But the earlier they can kind of get Simmons into the rotation and sort of get him comfortable with this new team and try and figure out exactly who they are. If it's a month left of regular season basketball, then that could be enough.
Yeah, I agree with you on the fact that a team like that, guy with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, guys that have got that playoff experience, championship experience, they don't care what seeding they've got. Just get us to the playoffs healthy, and we know what we can do, type of thing. But I do think they need to get Simmons integrated before the playoffs start, because you can't just throw him in round one of the playoffs and be like, all right, here you go, guys. Let's try and do something here. So from that sort of perspective, I feel like they need to get him back as soon as possible. But then again, on the flip side, like you said, this guy hasn't played since I think it was June last year when the Sixers got knocked out. So it's been a while. These kind of injuries are going to happen when you are coming back after such a long layoff. I saw a joke on social media. Someone said that the bad back was caused by his gaming chair, and they need to get.
Don't do him like that on the Call of Duty stream. Come on.
He spent like 7 months gaming, so it was bound to happen. They do need to get him back because, like we saw yesterday, I mean, it was a good win that they had in Milwaukee, but that was all Kyrie. If they didn't have Kyrie yesterday, poor man, they would no chance at all. So at the moment, they're relying on Kyrie when KD comes back, and I think they're expecting KD back within the next 3 games from what I saw in the ESPN telecast yesterday. So if they get KD back, you need to bring back Ben Simmons and then integrate those 3 guys together before the playoffs, BK. Moving on to the Toronto Raptors, actually. I want to talk about these guys and get your thoughts because they were on fire for a little bit, and now they've had 2 consecutive losses, 2 blowout losses, BK. Lost to the 10th seeded Atlanta Hawks yesterday. Trae Young, 41 points, 11 assists. They're now 2.5 games back of Boston in the 6th seed. and 1.5 games in front of Brooklyn in the 8th seed. They open next week. They've got another back-to-back where they've got the Nets in Brooklyn on Monday, and then the Nets in Toronto on Tuesday, and then they close out the week with another back-to-back, Pistons and the Magic. BK. Is this something to be concerned about for the Toronto Raptors, this 2-game skid? Because the games that they lost, the last 2 games, the teams that are in that sort of play-in range, they can't afford to be dropping any more of these games.
Yeah, they came out of the All-Star break not exactly how they would have liked. It's the first time in 10 years they've lost back-to-back games by 20 points. I think they had a 30-point loss a couple of games before the All-Star break as well. So that's 3 out of their last 4 games. They've just gotten completely smacked, which is not great. And their schedule is kind of crazy, at least for these sort of first 2 weeks after the All-Star break. But the good thing for them is, I think according to Tankathon, they have the 7th easiest schedule the rest of the way. So once they kind of get through this little chaotic period, things should smooth out a little bit there for the Raptors. But I think the biggest concern is OG Anunoby, who's missed these last couple of games with a fracture in his right ring finger. So his availability moving forward will be definitely something to monitor. But Fred VanVleet did have some comments just kind of saying sometimes they just play young and free and a little silly sometimes. And look, they are a young team in terms of some of the guys they have on the roster, but they have guys that have been there before. VanVleet, Siakam, Anunoby. These are experienced guys that should be able to steady the ship.
I saw an interesting tweet, BK. We're going to put it up on screen right now. I don't know if you saw this. So the Raptors record with all 5 of their starters, 12-6. Without one or more of those guys, 20-21. And like the tweet says, without much depth there, their margin for error is slim. That OG Anunoby injury is going to be crucial because he's a guy that provides rebounding, defense, all that sort of stuff for them. And you've noticed his absence, the last couple of games. They've been running short rotations. Nick Nurse has been running short rotations. These guys are tired, fam.
You want to talk about a lack of depth? The Raptors, once you sort of get into that second unit, it gets tough. So they really can't afford any injuries and guys out of the lineup for consecutive nights, because they really do rely so much on their core guys, as you can kind of see from that tweet there. So fingers crossed for them. They can stay healthy. But I like the Toronto Raptors. They play hard every night. They play defense and they're a well coached team. So I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, and I've watched a few of the Raptors games, in recent weeks, like more than I usually do. They are a very fun team to watch. Like you said, they play hard. I do like the Raptors. I do think they're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to drop out of those play-in seeds, but these next couple of games against the Brooklyn Nets are going to be pretty interesting to watch. All right, BK. Let's get on to some game predictions, and then we're going to get on out of here. 8 games on the schedule today. 2 have already been played. One's in progress at the moment. The Knicks got smacked by the Philadelphia 76ers. But we're going to start at Dallas and Golden State here. Both teams... Okay, here we go. Dallas and Golden State. Both teams 6-4 in their last 10. Warriors favorites today, $1.62. Mavericks $2.33. Lines at -3.5. Total 218.5. They're live on NBA League Pass. Warriors gained a half game on Phoenix after Phoenix lost to the Pelicans the other day. So this game's going to be key if the Warriors want to make up more ground on Phoenix. No Iggy, no Draymond still, obviously. Klay Thompson was day-to-day with an illness. No Ntilikina, Ntilikina and Trey Burke questionable. No Pinson and Chris for the Mavericks. Warriors 26-6 at home. It could be a loss if Klay Thompson doesn't play. If Klay Thompson plays, I'm going to go with the Warriors at home in a close one. I think this one's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be the difference maker, because Luka Doncic has been playing crazy for the past few games. So it's not going to be a light night for the Golden State Warriors. But if Klay does play, I'll stick with them on their home floor.
Yep, there we go. We both agree on that one there. Next game we're going to take a look at over here is the Detroit Pistons and the Charlotte Hornets. Yeah, Hornets are $1.19 favorites for a reason here. Pistons $4.90. Lines at -10.5. Total is at $2.29. Hornets need to get a win, to get a streak going. They're 1.5 games behind Brooklyn. This is the time for the Hornets to make a push. This is the game to get it started, actually, because Detroit's been not good. No Jalen McDaniels for Charlotte, so that's pretty much the only injury, and obviously no Gordon Hayward. BK, at home, Charlotte is a much, much better team than the Detroit Pistons. I think Hornets get it done.
Yeah, the Hornets are a much better team, but they haven't really been playing like that. They were terrible leading up to the All-Star break. I think they went 1 of 9 in their 10 games prior. So they can't really afford to drop games like this because they do have ground to make up. I think they should win today, but these are the games you have to win if you're going to stay in the play-in race. You can't afford to drop games against teams like the Pistons who aren't going to factor into that playoff race.
All facts. You need to win the games that you're expected to win, and then obviously you need to try and win the games that you're not expected to win. Next game we're going to take a look at here, New Orleans and the Los Angeles Lakers. This one's a little bit tighter than most would probably think because the Lakers suck. And the Lakers are $1.86 favorites. New Orleans Pelicans $1.97. Lines at -1. Total 223 flat. Live on ESPN BK. Lakers just 3-7 in their last 10. So this one's not going to be easy. This is going to be closer than, again, what it probably should be on paper. New Orleans are 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're finding a groove with their new guys in there now. CJ McCollum's been playing well. No Avery Bradley for the Lakers. No Anthony Davis. Obviously, saw a report today that he could be out an extra few weeks than originally expected. So that's not good news for them. BK, you know what? This game's in Los Angeles. I'm actually going with New Orleans, man. I think New Orleans is going to get the upset today.
Hey, I don't hate that at all. As you said, CJ McCollum has been awesome since he turned up there in New Orleans. But out of desperation, I'll stick with the Lakers on their home floor. But I think this is going to be a close one.
BK, I respect your loyalty to the Los Angeles Lakers, Russell Westbrook. I don't know who you're super loyal to over there. I don't know if you're on the payroll, but I respect it.
I'm loyal to LeBron. I can't bet against him.
All right.
All the evidence I've been presented this season on the Lakers.
Last NBA game we're going to take a look at here. Boston. We haven't got the odds for Boston, actually, I've been told. We're going to move on to the last game, which is the NBL game on the schedule tonight. We've got the Perth Wildcats, Tasmania JackJumpers here. Wildcats favorites $1.49 as they should be. JackJumpers have been playing well, but they're $2.62 outsiders here. The line's at -4, totals at 164 flat. BK, come on, how can you go against Perth in this game here?
Hey, the JackJumpers have caught us a few times, but the Wildcats are smart money here. Yeah,
safe money. Put your money on the Wildcats right there. All right, BK, my man. Go and enjoy some basketball today, man.
Always a pleasure, my man.
We'll see you on Friday morning, as always. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA Show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys Wednesday morning.